Welcome to Pucknology Special. I have a guest today. His name is Steve Berman, better known as the Bay Area Sports Guy. You can find him on CSN, KNBR, and 95.7 on occasion. He is a press box hot dog connoisseur, at least I've heard. He allegedly lives in his mom's basement. I don't know if that's true or not. You can find him at BA Sports Guy on Twitter, and of course the website I already mentioned. How's it going, Steve?
Going good, Chris. How are you?
Awesome. This is the first time actually we've talked face to face. I
Yeah.
mean, we've chatted back and forth on social media for a couple years there on your site. Um, you know this, not many of our listeners know this, but the comment section of your site is where me and AJ became friends and eventually turned into our little deal we do here. So yeah,
Part of the family tree.
yeah. So we have very distant roots there at your site, but we've always appreciated what you did, and also we've had Shalana on a number of times when she was
hmm
writing for you guys. So I know you don't follow hockey super close, so we're gonna keep this a little more broad and talk a little more Bay Area sports scene. But man, did the Sharks did they pick the worst possible time to have their best season ever? I mean, it's not like the Warriors were doing anything big at all at the same time, right?
No, not at all. It was tough, I think, for the Sharks and probably their fans who worry about how much people are talking about the Sharks and care. I mean, I think a lot of them just don't really care, and like I like it, so it doesn't matter if other people are talking about it. But yeah, I think especially when you're on the doorstep of a championship, you want a little bit more attention. And the Warriors were in the midst of not just of NBA Finals, but the most watched, most dramatic NBA Finals since MJ's last Finals. So, yeah, if they could have picked any one of like the previous, you know, years between like '93 and 2014 to go to the Stanley Cup Finals, then they would have had the whole thing to themselves. In this case, obviously, the Warriors were the talk of the entire sports world, at least in the U.S.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. I mean, I thought the media did step up quite a bit though. I heard considerably more talk than normal. I saw more, but I mean, it was usually
Oh yeah.
1A, 1B, or really 1, 2, because let's be honest, the Warriors got the bulk of the coverage, and for good reason. I mean, they weren't just in the finals; they were making history, and I think most people understood that. Even the most diehard Sharks fans like myself and AJ, we got it. Uh, yeah. So did you get a chance to catch any games during the finals?
Oh yeah, I watched. I'd say I think I only missed the one or two that were going on when I was at the Oracle Arena. Other than that, I did watch the games. I don't really feel the need to comment an incredible amount because I kind of feel like as a hockey novice, what am I really going to tell people? It's sort of like being a restaurant critic. I know if I like good food, but like I'm not really an expert. And I think there's a lot of other people that I follow, including you, and a lot of other people who really know what they're talking about, can add something to the coverage. I enjoyed a lot of the games. I thought that the Sharks really did their fans proud after. I mean, we saw just a total death blow, it seemed like, in the previous year with all the controversy with the captain stuff and ice dancers and Doug Wilson staying and McClellan going and the fans not showing up during the regular season like they used to. It really seemed like the Sharks were sort of, after they kind of plateaued, and then they went back up to the highest high they ever have. So that was fun to watch, and I think that Sharks fans really, if any fans in this region deserve a title the most, I think actually it's probably pretty easy to say they're the only team that hasn't won one of the major four sports.
Yeah, I know. When you first saw, the Sharks were in the playoffs, going to play the Kings in the first round. Be honest, what was your first thought? Was it here we go again, or?
Yeah, I think so. I think just based on what everyone else is saying, even when they took a lead, everyone just expected them to fall over themselves and lose it like they had in years past. So yeah, it did sort of seem like, okay, it was a nice second half of the regular season. Obviously, they were awesome on the road the entire regular season, and it's kind of a different kind of team than had been around in the last few years, even though a lot of the players are the same. But I just get hear so much around me from like the hardcore Sharks fans who've just been burnt so many times. I mean, I know we both know Kyle Klorg. You know, he used to be Ruthless Sports Guy, and he wrote for the site for a long time and did a lot of Shark stuff for us. And the Sharks just kind of broke him mentally. And I think I saw that with a lot of people, and everyone just expected them to fall flat in the playoffs, even if they had a lead. And so it was kind of fun to watch the fans kind of turn the tide in terms of belief as they kept winning series after series.
Was there a moment for you when you kind of looked up like, what's going on with these guys? These guys might be for real.
I think it was when they actually made it to the Stanley Cup Finals. I didn't expect that to occur. I was paying so much attention to the Warriors that it was difficult for me to know if. But I knew what was being said about them was that they were maybe the most talented team in the playoffs going into the finals. You know, I even, Drew Menda, I heard saying that they should be favored against the Penguins, and everyone else I heard said that they probably shouldn't be favored against the Penguins, and the Penguins were probably better, but Drew might be a little biased even though he was fired. I think that I until the moment that they won the Western Conference Finals, I figured there's got to be some way for them to choke it away, but once they did, I was like, wow, they're actually going to the finals.
So you think just they didn't win obviously, and it was kind of a little lopsided. The Penguins are clearly the better team. Do you think this changes the narrative around the Sharks at all, at least in Bay Area media, or do you think they have to win the title to really change it?
Unfortunately, I think in the broad scope of Bay Area media, they probably have to win a title for things to really change. I think people who are paying attention, this has changed quite a bit because that was something they'd never done. They really were like the Atlanta Braves of the '90s for so long, and that they had a lot of regular season dominance and a lot of good players and sort of just this real consistent winning squad that couldn't get to the big one. The Braves won the World Series in '96 even, and that kind of changed things for them. I think in the Bay Area, though, this is a region. Let's just face it, it's kind of a front runner area to a certain extent, and a lot of fans when things go badly, not all. I mean, a lot of fans are diehards, but a lot of fans when things go badly are like, "All right, that's it. I'm done. I'll go on to something else for a little bit. When they win, let me know." And I think with the Sharks, it'll really change things when they finally get a parade. When they get a parade, I think that will put them at a different level than they've ever been, and that will put them at a plateau that they will never fall from. They'll always be higher up. I think that they moved a step by going to the Stanley Cup Finals, but around here, it's a tough market for hockey, so I think they need to win one to actually really change things.
Yeah, especially with the Giants winning. I mean, their whole narrative changed, 6 years ago when they won their first one, and they've won a bunch since.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you're right. It is definitely a bit more of a front runner town. I mean, not in a bad sense. We have our loyal fans. I know you live up in the SF area and all that, and on the subject of fans and all that, did you see a lot of Sharks merchandise? A lot of people representing the Sharks up that way? Because I know they're definitely big down here in San Jose, but there's questions like about how much they are the Bay's team versus San Jose's team.
Not a ton really. More Warrior stuff, absolutely. It does seem like, and I spend a lot of time in the East Bay too, and I've seen a little bit more in the East Bay, in Contra Costa County area than I did in San Francisco. San Francisco, it's really, I didn't see much Giant stuff until they started going to the playoffs, and I think with the Sharks, again, I think they really do need to win a title for it to go all the way to the sort of the when you're looking at who are wearing stuff in San Francisco, it's not the business people who are walking around and may be Sharks fans and may even be season ticket holders and go to tons of games. Those people wearing suits and casual sport coats and dresses and pantsuits or whatever, the people who are wearing the gear are generally just like I walk through the Tenderloin a lot of the time. And so most of those people are generally wearing stuff that they get from bootleggers, it seems like. And, there's a lot of Let Timmy Smoke shirts back in the day when he was big and that kind of thing. I do see some Warriors gear, especially right after they won the title. Sharks hasn't really made it to San Francisco quite yet. I mean, San Francisco is so provincial that you don't see a lot of stuff from the Oakland teams or the San Jose teams, but I think the Warriors kind of cross over that because they used to be the San Francisco Warriors, and it's the only basketball team in the area.
So, in the Bay Area, there's somewhat limited coverage of Sharks, but there's a good handful of media guys who know the Sharks. Who do you look to as far as opinions on the Sharks? Kevin Kurz or Ray Ratto, or who do you like?
I think Drew, when he's on with Tom, is pretty good because he explains it in a very exciting way. I think Ratto is good in terms of sort of the storytellers aspect of it, not as much the X's and O's. And I'd say guys like Kevin Kurz are what I look to in terms of what's going on with the team and you know more X's and O's strategic kind of stuff as opposed to the narrative style. I think I put Purdy as well in with Ratto and as sort of that calmness view of what does it mean traditionally in the area, and he comes at it from a super obviously pro San Jose bent. And I think that's a big part of the team's allure to a lot of people is because it really is the San Jose team. I mean, the 49ers are in Santa Clara, but they don't say they're Santa Clara. They say they're San Francisco. And they've been San Francisco all the way up until a couple years ago. San Jose Sharks are the Sharks team. First team. We're San Jose. So I think that's a big deal. But yeah, back to your question. I'd say those guys mostly. I did get a lot of help as well from just looking at Twitter and the Sharks fans that I see and venting on Twitter and Kyle and Shalana and people that I talk to fairly frequently.
I really appreciate you joining me, and I had one last question for you. What pizza topping do you prefer, if not cheese pizza?
Okay, I'm actually pretty easygoing, and I like cheese pizza as well. I know. Let's explain what you're referring to here is the famous Jason Barrett lunch date, where he went to Pizza 00, where that's thin crust pizzas that I think are really expected to be single serving pizzas. You have one pizza per person, not a deal where you get one and share. I mean, unless you're just not really that hungry. And he's like, he just ordered a margarita and said, all right, that's it. And which is fine. I mean, I wasn't like going to just gorge during this lunch, but it was thin crust. It wasn't very filling. And then he kept me there for 2 hours talking about why the ratings posts that I was doing on Barry Sports Guy were irrelevant. And it just became the longest 2 hours of my life. And by the time I left, I was starving. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go to What's Up Dog and get something because I'm still hungry after this interminably long lunch. But yeah, I'll go pepperoni. I'll go mushroom. I'll even like when I'm in Hawaii and Kauai, I'll go with the Kahlua pork and pineapple. And I'll eat pineapple usually, but yeah, I'm not really that picky when it comes to pizza toppings, but it's kind of weird when someone invites you to lunch and then tells you what you're going to eat and sort of limits your food intake.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite stories on your site because it was just very, very, very amusing. But yeah, if we ever run into each other, I'll buy you a slice or a beer or something like that. Appreciate you joining us, Steve Berman, Bay Area Sports Guy. Everybody.
Thanks, Chris.